Have you ever looked into your child's eyes and felt that quiet sting, the kind that comes when they no longer truly listen? Do they brush off your advice, dismiss your opinions, or make you feel like you no longer matter in their busy world? And deep down, do you ever wonder, when did respect begin to fade? You're not alone. Many loving parents face this silent heartbreak, watching their children grow distant despite years of sacrifice and care. But here's the truth. You don't have to stay trapped in that frustration. Today, we'll uncover 6 powerful, practical ways to regain the respect you deserve. Calmly, confidently, and without resentment. So stay with me until the end, because you're about to discover how small shifts in your behavior can completely change how your children see you, helping you reclaim your place as a respected, valued parent in their lives. Now, let's begin with the first and most crucial step. Stop chasing their approval. Respect doesn't come from constant pleasing. It begins with you. Many parents spend years putting their children's needs first, saying yes when every part of them wanted to say no, or biting their tongue just to avoid conflict. You might have thought that if you stayed agreeable, appreciation would follow, but instead, you found yourself overlooked. The harder you tried to win their approval, the less they seemed to notice your efforts. Respect quietly slipped away. Take Margaret, for example. Once, she was the steady heart of her family, strong, organized, and full of life. But as her children became adults, she began yielding to them in everything, letting them dictate holidays, ignoring her preferences, even silencing her own stories because they rolled their eyes. Keeping the peace became her goal, but the cost was her self-worth. Her children stopped seeing the capable, confident woman she once was because she stopped seeing it herself. Margaret's story teaches a powerful truth. Respect isn't something you earn by disappearing into others' expectations. It's not a reward for silence or sacrifice. It's a reflection of how you see yourself and how firmly you protect your own dignity. If you want your children to value you again, start by valuing yourself. Set gentle but clear boundaries, and remember, confidence commands respect far more than compliance ever will. Draw a clear line in the sand. Say no when something doesn't feel right, even if it earns you a sigh or a disapproving look. Speak up when your thoughts differ. Your voice doesn't lose value just because it's yours. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first, but over time, your quiet confidence will speak louder than any argument. When you stand firm, your children will begin to see you not as someone to please or dismiss, but as a person whose boundaries matter. Respect isn't demanded, it's demonstrated. Now, the second step. Don't argue. Lead with quiet strength. When your children interrupt, dismiss, or act as though your words don't matter, frustration can hit hard. You might feel that urge to shout, to remind them of all the sacrifices you made, to say, "I raised you, I deserve to be heard." But arguments rarely earn respect. They drain it. The louder you push, the further they pull away. Frank, a retired high school teacher, learned this lesson the hard way. For decades, he was admired in his classroom. Every word carried authority. Yet at home, his adult children brushed off his advice as outdated. He fought back, defending himself with passion and pride. But the harder he tried, the quieter the house became. The eye rolls turned to silence, and the distance widened. One day, Frank decided to change his approach. When his daughter interrupted him, he simply paused, listened, and then spoke slowly. Calm, clear, composed. No pleading, no raised voice. Just presence. When his son dismissed his words, Frank didn't argue. He stayed steady, letting his actions reflect his dignity. It wasn't instant, but gradually, things shifted. His children began to notice, not his volume, but his calm authority. They started to listen again, to pause before responding. What changed wasn't his words, but his energy. The lesson? Stop fighting for respect. live it. Arguments only build walls. Quiet strength opens doors. Respect doesn't grow from noise. It grows from composure, consistency, and the calm assurance that says, I know who I am. And that's enough. Speak without pleading, and hold your dignity even when they test it. Respect doesn't come from silencing your children or proving them wrong. It comes from steady confidence, from showing, not shouting, that your worth is non-negotiable. Over time, that quiet strength will echo far louder than any raised voice ever could. Now, let's move to the third step. Let go of emotional dependence. Stand strong on your own. You love your children deeply, with a devotion that carried you through years of sleepless nights, scraped knees, and endless sacrifice. But as they build their own lives, it's natural to look to them for reassurance, companionship, or even purpose. Yet here's the truth. When they sense that you need them to feel complete, the balance quietly shifts. What begins as love can start to feel like pressure. Instead of drawing closer, they drift. Not out of cruelty, but because your dependence feels like a weight rather than a bond. Helen learned this the hard way. A devoted mother of 3, she found her world painfully quiet once her kids left home. Lonely, she began calling them often, her voice filled with unspoken pleas for attention. But instead of closing the gap, her efforts widened it. Calls grew shorter, visits rarer. One day, Helen decided to stop waiting for her children to bring joy back into her life, and to create it herself. She pulled out an old paint set from decades ago and began to paint, not to be perfect, but simply to feel alive. She met friends for coffee, joined a book club, even started gardening again. Little by little, her world expanded beyond her children's approval. And then, something remarkable happened. Her kids began calling her more. They noticed the sparkle in her voice, her stories about new experiences. They saw her not just as mom, but as a strong, fulfilled woman. The lesson is clear. Emotional independence doesn't mean cutting your children out. It means showing them that you are whole on your own. When you fill your days with purpose and joy, you stop pulling on their energy and start inspiring it. Respect grows naturally, not from need, but from admiration. So remember this. When you thrive independently, your children won't step back. They'll lean in. They'll respect not just the parent who raised them, but the person who continues to live with dignity and strength. Your children may hold your heart, but that doesn't mean they have the right to step on it. When they speak sharply, dismiss your feelings, or take you for granted, it's tempting to stay quiet to keep the peace. But every time you let it slide, you send a silent message. This is acceptable. Over time, that quiet tolerance chips away at both your confidence and their respect. Boundaries aren't punishments. They're self-respect in action. A way to teach others how to honor your presence, including the people you love most. Take Robert, a retired businessman once respected by everyone except his own children. At home, they interrupted him mid-sentence, rolled their eyes, or brushed him off when he spoke. Wanting to avoid conflict, he said nothing, and little by little, his silence made him invisible. The more he avoided confrontation, the easier it became for his kids to overlook him. Until one day, Robert decided enough was enough. He didn't explode. He simply spoke with calm resolve. When his daughter interrupted, he said quietly, "I'll finish when you're ready to listen." When his son dismissed him with a quick, "Whatever, Dad," he met his eyes and replied, "I'm here to talk, not to be brushed aside. Let's try again later." Then he stepped away, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. At first, his kids pushed back. They were uncomfortable with the change. But Robert stayed consistent, firm, yet kind. No yelling, no guilt, just clarity. Slowly, the tone shifted. His daughter began to listen. His son softened and even apologized. The man they once took for granted became someone they looked up to again. That's the power of boundaries. They're not walls. They're lessons in love. Start small, stay steady, and let your actions show that your time, voice, and dignity matter. When you teach your children how to treat you, you're not demanding respect, you're demonstrating it. And eventually, they'll mirror that respect back, not out of fear, but genuine understanding. If you keep pouring yourself into others without acknowledgement, it's time to pause and look closer. When your kindness turns into expectation, when thank you fades into silence, your giving no longer builds love, it breeds entitlement. Over time, people stop seeing your generosity as a blessing and start treating it as their right. Take George, a devoted father who spent years sacrificing everything for his children. He'd drop his own plans, stay up late to fix their problems, or drive hours just to help. At first, it came from love. But slowly, his efforts became invisible. The more he gave, the less they noticed. Gratitude disappeared, replaced by assumption. One day, George finally said no. No lecture, no guilt, just quiet refusal. His children were shocked, even angry. But as the days passed, something shifted. They began to remember all the times he'd been there. "Thanks, Dad," started returning to their conversations. When he did help again, it carried meaning, because it was a choice, not a duty. The lesson is simple. Don't stop giving, but stop giving blindly. Your time, energy, and care are precious. They're not endless resources to be taken for granted. When you step back, you allow others to feel your absence, to realize your value. Generosity tied to respect becomes powerful. It teaches your children that your help is a gift, not an obligation. When people see your kindness as a choice, not a guarantee, they begin to value both your giving and you far more deeply. Eleanor's transformation didn't happen overnight. After joining a yoga class, she began volunteering at a local animal shelter, where her gentle way with anxious dogs earned her the nickname, the Pup Whisperer. At first, her children barely noticed, but eventually, they did. Her son called one afternoon, not for help or advice, but to ask about her latest adventure hiking the Amalfi Coast. Her daughter texted, half amused and full of pride, "Mom, you're kind of a badass now. What's next?" They weren't reaching out of duty anymore. They were genuinely curious about the woman their mother had become beyond her role as mom. Eleanor's story is a beautiful reminder. When you step into your own spotlight, everything changes. Build a life that excites you. Take up hobbies that challenge you. Nurture friendships that lift your spirit. And follow passions that make your heart beat faster. It could be painting, gardening, learning a new language, or even training for a 5K. What matters isn't what you choose. It's that it's truly yours. When your children see you thriving, not merely surviving, their perception shifts. You're no longer the parent waiting quietly in the background, but a vibrant, fulfilled person living with purpose. That change doesn't just earn their respect. It transforms your entire relationship. They'll reach out, not out of obligation, but from admiration for the remarkable person you've always been, now shining on your own terms. And there you have it. 6 powerful ways to regain your children's respect by rediscovering your own strength. It's not about demanding their respect. It's about inspiring it through how you live, how you carry yourself, and how you value your own life. I wish you good health, happiness, and peace. And remember to subscribe to my Healthy Aging Blueprint channel.